Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. We got a hot job in here that we got to get done. We have a shaft here that belongs to the folks out at the local airport here in Pensacola. They need some modifications made to this shaft. They want it cut. They want a keyway milled all the way down the entire length. They want a hole drilled and tapped on each end, 3/8/16. And then I've also got a piece of 3/8 round stock there. They want some pieces cut and threaded that screw into the end of it. I don't know what that's for, but it's all stuff that we can get done for them. And they're in a big hurry for this. They said this goes to a very important piece of machinery that has to do with the luggage that is not working because of this. So they need to get it installed ASAP, and they would like to have it today. So we're gonna jump on this and try to get it done. I'm gonna see if Abby can help me with a little bit of the video on this because I need to try to get this done quickly and not fuss around with the camera too much. But anyway, here's a shot at it. The shaft right here. It's already got some keyways milled in it. It's 1 7/16 diameter. They want it cut 60 3/4 inches long. So that's about right there. We'll drill and tap both ends, 3/8/16. Make sure the keyway is milled all the way down there. And then we'll take this 3/8 round stock, and they want them 2 3/8 long, 5/8 of thread machined on there for the screw in. Again, I don't know what that's for, but that's what they want. So we'll go ahead and I got to get the milling machine set up with a couple of vices, and we'll get started on this shaft here. I'm getting the 2 vices set up here on the KBC. I'm using one of my 36-inch long parallels to get it trammed in, to get both of them trammed in together. Looking pretty good. That has moved about 1/2 thousandths. I'm going to give it one more tap. Looking pretty good right there where it's at. Watch it one more time and see if it stays there while I tighten this other end up. It's probably moving because of me pulling on that. That is tram. Okay, good to go there. So we have our shaft that we're going to be cutting it off 30 3/4, I'm sorry, 60 3/4. And we have about 31 inches of travel. You can actually go a little bit more of that, but when you're traveling this direction, you can go at least 31 inches. So we'll plan on machining, milling half of the shaft, flipping it around, milling the other half of it. Let's give it one final check. They want it 60 3/4 finished length. 60 3/4. I went just over the line, so we're gonna have to face that side and drill and tap it in the lathes. Just give me a little bit to make a little face cut. So go ahead and get her cut. So this is one of those scenarios where you would have people say or ask you, why don't you just use the 3-jaw chuck? 3-jaw chuck is faster, easier, right? It is easier. But in my case, it doesn't really help me all that much because I have another job lined up that I'm going to be using this 4-jaw on. So I'd rather leave the 4-jaw on the lathe, flip these jaws around, and use it to chuck that one end of the shaft. Since we're only doing, even if I was doing both ends of the shaft, I'd still leave this on here because I have another job lined up for it. If we had several of these shafts to do, I'd probably take it off and swap it out. Either way, it's going to take a little bit of time setting it up. But anyway, we're going to use the 4-jaw, chuck that one end of the shaft up. The other end's fine. It's already got a tapped hole, the proper tapped hole, the 3/8. So just the one end that we cut needs to be drilled and tapped. And I'm just going to do that here in the lathe. They got a good fit on these jaws, on that tongue and groove. There we go. Jaws are flipped around. Now we can go ahead and set it. 1 7/16. There you go. 1 7/16. Open up a couple of them. Better slide it in there. I got that done faster than I would have taken this chuck off and putting that 3-jaw back on there. Now we won't spin this super fast because it is hanging out the other end of the lathe. I don't have any kind of support for the back end here, something that I've been wanting to build. A spider, maybe even a chuck. We just haven't ever got it done. Let's get her indicated though. Half a thousandths. Half a thousandths. That should be good to go right there. Again, you get it good at 4-jaw, you get efficient with it. Doesn't take but just an extra minute to indicate something on here. That's 130. I just want to make sure it's not going to whip around on us. This would be 250. And then 380. It's wanting to whip right there. So we won't spin it more than 3, which is 250, to get it drilled and tapped. We ain't gotta worry about facing it off. It's got a nice clean cut on that carbide blade. We'll just put a nice chamfer on here. And I'll find the drills and taps we need to get it drilled and tapped. Just give it a spot with a center drill there. I would love to spin it faster, but I need to support that shaft. So we're just going to take it nice and easy and get her done. I'm going to set my depth here on the quill. We'll go about 1 inch deep or so. Easy to drill. Usually on this tailstock, I'll show you, see if you can see it. You just apply the pressure. You feel that drill going in there. You can tell when if you're trying to push it too hard, or even if you're going too light. But it just nice and steady, even at that slow speed. There's our 1 inch mark. 1 inch is plenty because they want 5/8 of thread down inside there. I'll go ahead and take the drill out. Let me find a chamfer tool and we'll go ahead and machine a chamfer on there. You could also machine a center on there if you wanted to, but I don't know if we're ever going to be having to set this back up in the lathe, so we'll just go with a chamfer. All right. Now we'll tap it. All right, for our tap, we're going to use one of these spiral fluted taps right here. I like it because it'll pull the chip out, and it's got a center in the back of it there that we can use to hold it or support it with our spring-loaded center right here. You can see that it's pulling the chip out of it. Feeling tighter than what I like though. I don't like that. That is getting awfully tight. I'm gonna take that out of there. Now that we got it started, maybe I'll just run it in there with our plug tap, our 4-flute plug tap. That feels good. There's the bottom right there. If you guys listen to the podcast, we had an episode about threading the other day, and we talked about a taper, plug and a bottom tap. I'm using the plug tap, which is sort of splits the difference between the two. And we use the plug tap right there, so if you need the threads to go further into the hole, a little bit deeper, you go back in there with your bottom tap. And that'll run the threads a little bit further to the bottom. It'll take them as deep as you can take with a tap. Just like that right there. I just felt the bottom. All right, well, that part of the lathe work is done. Very simple and easy. Now we'll take it over to the milling machine and start working on our keyways. I've been getting it set up. I wanted to show you because I think I got it where I want. So this is an existing keyway that we're going to be going through. And what I have is a piece of high-speed steel tool bit down in the keyway. And then this is a nice parallel that I have clamped down to it so that we can indicate the bottom and try to get it lined up. And I have it, if we're running across here like this, just a couple of inches, I'm getting maybe 1/1000, so I'm gonna leave it right there where it's at. I roughed it in using a level, and then once I get it really close, just put the stair at 196 on there and get it indicated. So that should be close enough for what we're doing with just a keyway. I'm gonna tighten that one. I'm gonna tighten our other vise over here as well. Make sure everything is clamped in there the way it should. And that's looking good. So that should be good right there where it's at. This would have been a perfect job for a parallel clamp, and I actually don't have any down here. You can see that was a threading tool that I ground. I just put that in the bottom so that you can level the bottom of the key where the cutter had cut it there. Now we'll find the center of it, and we should be ready to start milling a key. Use a 1/2 inch edge finder to find the center. There it is, 1.937. Take half of that, bring it to 0, and that'd be the middle of the shaft. Got a 2-flute high-speed steel end mill. This one's never been used, so we're just going to run that right there. All right, check this existing depth here and see what it was cut to. That's 188 right there, so that's right in the ballpark. 189. So I think we can just match the bottom of that keyway right there. The camera is a little too shaky. So we're running 800 RPM. That should put us right around the 80 inches a minute. It just won't stay. That mister never keeps spraying. I can see that it lined up with the existing keyway. Nice. We'll speed it up through this guy. Roll it back down. There we go. Milling keyways like this on a manual mill, a lot of times it's more about the feel. We have our feed right here that we're controlling. Usually I just look right there and I kind of see how fast that's rotating. I don't have any kind of indication on the DRO on what feed rate it is. So really you see it, you feel it. Using a 2 flute, you can kind of feel it, you know, every time that flute hits. So you just kind of find the sweet spot is what you do. And that right there feels pretty good. You can tweak it just a little bit. You can kind of see, it might be hard to see that on video, but you can kind of see the shaking a little bit of the cut itself. And this is what we talk about when we refer to listening and feeling the machine. Let it talk to you and tell you what it likes, what it dislikes. Everything is working nicely except for this mister here. I keep having to tweak it a little bit to get it to blow the coolant. So I wanted to point out, we went ahead and brought this part of the shaft down further, so we'll be able to get past halfway, and then whenever we flip the shaft around, we'll be able to line up on the keyway that we're cutting right now. But the existing keyways lined up beautifully, so indicating that key worked great. This is the kind of work and the kind of jobs that me and my dad did often. There was always a need for shafts to be modified, or, you know, we always stocked a lot of different size cold rolls, 1018 cold rolls in the shop because of how many different shafts that people would need. So we just kept 20-foot links in there, cut them, and milled the keyways as you needed. And when I was at Motion, my previous job, we did them all the time there too. You know, anything from little small shafts up to great big shafts that were nearly 6 inch diameter, 24 foot long. Doing it on that old Acra mill, slightly larger than the KBC mill. It had a 40 taper on it, flood coolant, 12 by 58 table, where this is a 10 by 54 table here. I wanted the bigger mill, but They didn't have any of that size whenever I was looking for one, so I just went with this guy right here. The other good way that you can do these shafts, mill the keyways, is if you can lay the shafts down in the slot. But the thing that I didn't realize about the table on the KBC mill is that the 3 T-slots doesn't have a clearance channel going all the way through to the other side. I'll show you what I'm talking about. Like right here, there's no slot there to where you can lay a shaft down in this T-slot and clamp it down. A lot of times what I would do is lay a shaft here and then a little short piece on this one back here and have the strap clamp and stud in the center. But since the groove doesn't go all the way through the table on both ends, you can't do that. It has to be within the length of the table there. So the vices are the next best work holding option for jobs like this. But it does a good job and it gets it done. So far, I think this little rust job is working out nice and smooth for us. Almost to the end of the travel right here. We are just about to the end of our travel. I'm going to stop it and I'm going to do some checking on the keyway before I move anything and make sure that it's cut to the right width. All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop it right there. Back off so it's not rubbing. And I'm just going to do a little bit of inspection and see where our keyway is at. I got my set of gauge blocks out. This is the set that I use in the shop for doing stuff like this. It's a cheaper quality, perfect for measuring parts like this out here. So this is a 374.374 gauge block stack up, and it's fitting down in there. And I feel pretty good about that. This is the key that they actually give me, and it's actually got a good fit down in there. So our end mill cut it, I'm gonna call it, 0.374, maybe just a few tenths over that. And we're gonna leave it alone. That'll be fine right there. I'm not gonna worry about the matching the depth on the knee. I'm just gonna raise it up just like that out of the cut, and then we'll come back down and we'll raise the knee up, touch the cutter again. Got my number 57 surface gauge here. That's a 1/2 thousandths across that parallel. We clamped it just like we did before. We have a piece of high-speed steel underneath the parallel and then just clamp down there tight to it. And we should be nice and parallel to the mill table right there where it's at. This is a good depth that we already cut it to, so I just matched the bottom with the cutter. We got a dial set to 0, and I'll just go up like 3 300,000ths, or drop it down, should I say. 1, 2, 3. That'll be 3 zeros. Yeah, clears just fine. Run it back down here to the end, bring it up 300,000ths, and then start our cut. One, 2, and 3 right there. Slow that feed down. That's one thing you always got to make sure you do. Everything's locked. I was going to mention that we are using our trim mist for our mist lubrication there. That's from Master Fluid Solutions. I find that it's worked really well for my needs around here. And then that is the Noga Mini Cool that we are using for the mist system, and I absolutely love it. I just hate how the tip always gets clogged up on it. It has to come apart and you have to clean it and make sure it's just all cleaned out for it to work right. Seems to be working pretty good, but there we go. I'd like a little bit more on there. I really think that whenever you're having to do keyways, milling jobs like this on a machine that's not equipped with flood coolant, this is the next best option right here, is the Noga Mini Cool or a mist system like that. You want to make sure that it blows the chips out of the slot, and you can see that it's doing a good job blowing them right over here onto the floor. All right, here we go. Seems like it lined up pretty good. We'll go ahead and clean it off and make sure our width is good on this side here too. All right, here's our 374 gauge block stack up. It's fitting down there. If I can get it square, keep it square. There we go. It's fitting in there just like the other side. Here's our key. I think that's good. All right, our keyway is finished. We still have to deburr it. Other than that, we'll be finished up with that. All right, we got our main shaft finished up. I went ahead and cut 2 pieces of our 3/8 cold rolled right here. And all we've got to do to these is thread one end. Well, it's going to be threaded 3/8 16, and they want it threaded 5/8 back. I've already cut them, faced them, and chamfered them just to make sure they were the length that they wanted at 2 3/4. So all we got left to do is thread those. So we'll set up the other camera so you can see a little bit of single point threading and get this finished up, and then that will finish up the job completely. Just finished up the first little stub there with the threads. That's what they want. I don't know what it's used for, but that's what they want right there. All right, one more to do. We both go in there, but you just have to put some pliers or something on there, I guess. Screw them in there, they're going. I know they'll go in there. I just can't get enough grip with my fingertips there. They did not ask for any kind of flat or hex on these, so no idea what those are going to be used for, but we give them what they want and the go gauge fits on there properly. All right, guys, this job is done. We've got our 2 3/8 pins threaded the way they want. We have the shaft cut and modified, keyway milled down each length, drilled and tapped on that one end, and they're going to be ready to get this back in their hands. So Just gave them a call. They're going to be on their way to pick it up, and I know they're excited because this goes to an important piece of machinery at the airport, which is not working right now. So it was important to get this job done as quickly as possible. They wanted it today, and I can understand that. You know, it's a vital piece of equipment that they rely on. I believe it has something to do with the luggage. They didn't really get into specifics, but they just needed to get it done quickly. So I was happy to be able to share this project with you. I didn't think I was going to get that much footage of the job because I wanted to be able to work through it without fussing with the camera. But a lot of those shots, I was able to get the camera set up, hit record, and start setting up and doing what I got to do while I just talk to you. And I think it worked out pretty well. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video and enjoyed the project. I enjoyed sharing it with you, and I hope to see you back here on the next project. All right, we'll see you then.